Well, let's try a little experiment. If we are to say the word, for example, and then register, notice what happens. As soon as we say home, then maybe the thought of our house where we live will come to mind. Maybe that comes as a picture. And then it may occur to us that it's not just a house, it's a home, and therefore we may be inspired to have some projects going on to increase the interior decoration or paint something or change the furniture around or something. And then we go and we have a look around the home and we do exactly that. So let's look at the sequence of events. There was a connection between the word and the concept, and then what happened, an elaboration of that. A whole story unfolded that enabled us to go and do something. Net result, home improvement. In this way, we can understand that the word has a connection with higher values. So by using words, we create higher values, and those values, we have the capacity to rearrange things in our universe. Now it's a universe. I know physics now is postulating multiverse and all that. That's not the point. For our intents and purposes, there's only one of everything. There's only one energy, only one matter. Matter, the ancient yogis would call akasha. And the thing that moves it, energy, is only one thing, prana. So even if you move your little finger, it is the same universal energy that is moving entire galaxies so far away, we can't really understand how far. The nearest is Andromeda, but Andromeda, I don't know, it takes something like 2.5 light years to get there, probably more. Anyway, it'd take us, hundreds of thousands of years if we go at the speed of light even. So we're not traveling at the speed of light. If we were, we wouldn't be able to settle down and observe what we're observing here and now. So we can use this capacity for words to develop values, knowing that there is only one entity, one universe. That is why we call it uni, that there is only one energy, that there is also only one mind. And to get used to this, we have to study scripture. Scripture contains our philosophy. It contains the principles of everything that we're talking about through various words. Life, prana, antakarana, internal instrument, internal controller, and so on. All of these words are technical terms, and all of them can be used. But it's all still on the intellectual understanding. Now we can use that intellectual understanding to stimulate some enthusiasm for ourselves. What will we do with it? And then that is called spirituality, spiritual practice. So Jesus had this formula. Believe that is already accomplished. I think I mentioned it previously. That's a very important statement, because if we have faith, all the principles that we study, scripture and so on and so forth, and all the practical disciplines that we put into place, all the dedication we apply towards that, all the great enthusiasm we apply, all the wonderful motivation which is there and is sustained, collectively called yearning, all of that will create a result, as it were, that is already there, because from God's point of view, let's put it that way, he doesn't have the same time frame as us. If Genesis says the world was made in 7 days, and we think it is 7 human years, we have no idea of astronomy. We have no idea of cosmology, let alone the realm which we imagine is God's realm. So God made the world and saw that it was good. And we have to then continuously think of that it is good. And then we come across this scenario in front of us which contains so many individuals, which contains so many variegations, which contains so many fragmented things. How can we imagine that there is a unity there? And so we have to imagine it through story. And we'll make a variation of Ramakrishna's example. He used the pots, but let's say water droplets. Water droplets on a sunny day will reflect the sun. 1,000,000 water drops, 1,000,000 suns. But are they suns or are just our perception? So the reality is there is only one sun. It is reflected. For this reason, we can say we are made in the image and likeness of God. There's a biblical quotation. You can take it like that. We are made in the image and likeness of God. Now, reasserting all of these things on a constant basis, an earnestness in a study of Scripture, an earnestness in getting a teacher, competent teacher, to explain it, an urgency in guidance, in taking on guidance, help of guidance, from whatever quarter it comes. And so, because there's only one, whatever quarter it comes means it's only coming from one source. There only one source is there. That should be our conviction, which requires rehearsal. And we can use useful terms in order to understand it. If I were to ask you a question, therefore, having studied with me for so long, I might ask you, what does the term manas mean? What does the term buddhi mean? What does the term prana mean? These are simple questions, but I'd be interested to know what is the result. What would your answer be? And your answer would have to be compatible with Scripture. That means you might have to study Scripture and have it explained. You take that seriously as a principle, as the Vedantic approach. But then the practical approach has to be done. Spirituality has to be applied. We have to then allow it to seep deeply into our unconscious level, our habit level, so that we are convinced. And that conviction we call faith. Faith has a range. Blind faith, we don't want much to do with it. We can say it's a kind of superstition. We all accept it. Dogma, doctrine, and so on, be it from the scientific realm or be it from the religious realm, has a use. In other words, it creates a structure in the beginning. But just as if you want to build a house, you make a certain foundation, a certain structure. The structure is useful and helpful. A scaffolding is helpful. But once it's built, and we no longer need the scaffolding, and the building holds up by itself, we can take it away. Same thing with a plant. Plant we nurture, we nurse. Miraculously, a seed comes and develops into a small shoot, and that shoot then is nourished, fenced in as a young sapling, and we allow nature's forces, with our protection, to do their job. And then, after some time, we can take all that away because we know the tree will grow by itself. That means we have to use our attention, a very useful tool for us. One question that was asked was about attention. Attention is a kind of spotlight. It's a kind of beam that we can scan everywhere, but it only gives us a two-dimensional view. The eyes, the ears, and so on. It only gives a two-dimensional view, but attention internally fleshes it out and gives us a three-dimensional view. And so inwardly, a three-dimensional view is there. And the curious thing is attention can then be beamed on itself. And when it's beamed on itself, we find a oneness there. That oneness is the key. So, already accomplished. What do? We put our word in. Series of words. It contains resolve. It contains determination. It contains faith. We put it in as a seed, and we don't supervise the seed. We allow the seed to grow naturally into whatever it develops into. Now, when we plant a seed, which is an oak seed for an oak tree, we don't expect a mango tree. We don't expect some other plant. The key is inside the seed itself. And naturally, it evolves. It evolves into a tree of a certain species. And so, when we put in our thought, the corresponding values match the thought. They don't come out as something different. What is the danger? The danger is that the following thought in the following second and the following second may be a thought of doubt. We think, oh, you have to reinforce it. Maybe it's not good enough. So we require a faith in the infallibility of the supreme thinker that stands behind all thought. And when attention looks at itself and comes to a point where it is a potential creative area, as it were, where there is no second, no time, no space, an area of potential creativity that will immediately burst forth at some point and arrive as our capacity to go back to the source, to realize our own perfection, given that we have all the means. Great, good body, good mind, all of those means are there. So what will we do with it? We will take that useful attention in its dormancy and in its creativity and in its manifesting ability to observe a world and then to interpret the world and to react to the world and to give us the opportunity to use it to create higher values. These higher values will arrive in our world in such a way that this spiritual process will have its harmonizing effect everywhere, in social life, in domestic life, in physical life, health-wise, and yes, the whole planet, and yes, the whole cosmos, every being. The ancient sages knew it. They constructed prayers in such a way that they elaborated that with an idea of all beings. But what is all beings? All beings is that helpful structure called nature, that it is designed to adjust things and create a harmony. And within it, there is disharmony that is also part of nature. So behind all of that, this harmonizing view, which we sometimes like and sometimes don't, it comes out as natural laws. One natural law, therefore, is what you think will come to pass, whatever you conceive of, whatever you construct, whatever you visualize, will, for good or ill, will come to your environment sooner or later. But believe that it's already accomplished. Whatever you desire will come to you. Now, some people may say, but isn't desire the problem? Well, yes, with the one exception. We should take all the energy distributed between desires for objects and desires for self-enhancement, be it psychologically or materially. We have to take all that energy. Energy is only one, and we have to insert it into, channel it into this one desire, that is desire for truth. Now that truth, from the devotee's point of view, is called God, the beloved. Channel all of that toward that. And every religious practice will have the same kind of teaching. It doesn't matter what religion is there. All religious practices are designed to reform the habit level so that it becomes easy and natural to us. And with that easiness and naturalness, we can glide across the border. So the truth of all of this is we all have the capacity for liberation in this life. We all have the equipment for it. And if what you desired has come to pass, in the form of you sitting there on the other side of a broadcast and me sitting here delivering. And look at the wonderful unity system which is there, because it's carried over one electromagnetic wave system. That's all there is. And conveniently delivered through modern technology. And all of this is divinely constructed. We didn't invent the electromagnetic system. It is there. We didn't invent the sunlight that creates life and warmth and so on, in some cases anyway. And it is already there. We didn't ask, can we be born with a certain body, a certain nose structure and so on. It's arrived for us. We have to accept it. A useful thing for us. We have all this highly complicated and marvelous infrastructure. We should at least use it properly. And when we say properly, we're using it initially to take the very first steps. Supposing we want to build an institution. Well, the first step will be to conceive of it. And from that conception will come all the necessary suction ingredients. Thought is a suction, it brings everything toward us. But how frequently do we think? So to cancel an intention or a resolve with a doubt is an immediate thing. We can take it mathematically. We put in a positive followed by a negative, we get a 0. We put in 2 positives, 1 negative, we get a plus positive. So we have to construct our way of thinking in this way. The first thing is, do we have the enthusiasm to do that? So spiritual life, if we take it seriously, and the whole idea that we are entitled to access our inheritance, Jesus' language. Be perfect as your Father in heaven. Now, most theologians I've heard of say, yes, but they give some kind of interpretation. He didn't really mean that, because they think that we are human individuals with limitations. And there is even, actually, I suppose, the idea that we are humans to say, well, we are only biological species. Actually, there are some atheists who even go further. They're not just biological species, we are lumbering robots. A quotation from Richard Dawkins' Selfish Gene. Lumbering robots? Are you sure about that? Are you sure that your children are just lumbering robots? Are you sure that your friends are just lumbering robots? Are you sure that you have no feelings? Are you sure that you're just a mechanical construction made from organic material? Just so happens. So that would be absurd, and yet people believe it in principle because they are stuck with an idea. The glory of humanity is not revealed to them fully. But it's there potentially revealed for all of us because we can study Scripture. We can study the truth of it. One important favorite thing of mine, you see, I always quote, because it's an unusual point of view. The commentator points this out. And then Puram Egadasha Dwaram. See, Ajasa Vakra Chetasaha. There is an 11-gated city. You can take the human body and revalue it as an 11-gated city. And then what drives it? Well, it belongs not to an individual that is registered on voting registers or passports or what have you, or identity cards. No, it belongs to one that is unborn and whose consciousness doesn't flicker, doesn't change. Human body is born. Clearly, I am not the one that is born. Body is born, no doubt. Body will live, body will get old, body will die. And if you look after this instrument well, you can maybe extend it to 100 years without the necessity of a nursing home, hopefully. And then you have a mind that is constructed with the scanning ability of attention that can make use of every single second that is provided to us free. And there's a reason why we have a perception of time, because we can see that there is a present moment and we can understand what is in that because we can review it independently and see what we shall consciously, deliberately put into the next second, the next second, the next second, the next second, and leave it there with no expectation because it is already put into the overall realization scheme of the universe. It will arrive. Now, I don't know if that was the purport of your question.
No, I think that was really good. So what I asked in the beginning was to probably expand a little bit on what we were talking about last week in relation to deciding we want something or asking for things in our prayers. Be it and that question came from the idea that if we have an illness or there's discomfort in the body, that the body has we have the ability within ourselves to rather than taking medications, say, to heal our own bodies, or rather than that with faith we can achieve that. And asking for that, and as you went on in the conversation, you were speaking to about that in a more general context, that I suppose that we have within ourselves this, we have to have the faith and the knowledge that we have the power within ourselves to achieve whatever we want to achieve.
Generally speaking, in the Amazon rainforest, every plant, every fern, every tree, and there are social structures within the rainforest. There's a canopy there, and every plant living in harmony knows what it's doing, as it were, and is looked after and works in a harmonious way. This is why people don't want to destroy the rainforest. South Americans say, "Oh, wait! In Europe, you destroyed all your forests. Now it's our turn." And there are these great rainforests in the places like the Congo and the Amazon are the lungs, described as the lungs of the world. Now, the lungs of the earth. Now, you wouldn't really have a need for the parents of a plant to go and send for a tree doctor and say, "I'm sorry, my tree is sick." If we rely fully on nature, that means if we are sure and confident that this is not our body, this is a divine being, a divine body, that every cell of the body will be a reflection of the glory of the divine, divine perfection. And divine perfection means exactly that. There's nothing wrong with it. If we truly understand that, then we'll take everything that comes to it, let's say a common cold, as a cure. So this is the naturopathic way of thinking. I often quote Joel Goldsmith. Joel Goldsmith was a church of his main church was a church that really believed that doctors were not required, medications were not required. Now, we think they're required, and in certain circumstances they may well be, but generally speaking, I'm going to couch my language and be not so extreme, we have to have faith in the body, have faith that it is being looked after from within. And there's a very famous example, I think it was Swami Purnananda, when he was ill, and he was so, well, can we call a doctor? He remarked, I have the best doctor in the world. I have the beloved God. I have the Lord of the universe. I have my own doctor. If we truly have faith, will we not have faith that we will be looked after? Now, in naturopathy, we do apply some extreme things because when we go against nature, as we inevitably would do, illness occurs according to naturopathy. Therefore, the cure will be to remove all the extraneous matter from the bloodstream. And in doing that, the blood knows how to cure itself. In other words, the divine arrangement knows what to do. So we give people a prescription of, please take a steam bath, please take cold packs, cold compresses, and so on. Look after your diet. Take a little bit of natural Ayurvedic stuff, things like that. A few things like that we do. Please take some exercise. Do the things that restore the natural normality of the human body. So that's the naturopathic way of thinking. Now, what is the connection between the naturopathic way of thinking and faith in God? Well, it's faith in all the cells of the body, faith in the fact that we are being looked after, faith in the fact that even when you are stupid, God will correct things. The digestion will correct things. Antibodies will correct things. A one teardrop diluted in a 20-liter bucket of water still has a capacity as an antiseptic. And cilia are there to take off any extraneous materials through mucous lining. And hydrochloric acid sits in the stomach, dealing with everything else. And billions of antibodies go off. And a virus may get in, no doubt. But you see, virus can be taken care of by a strong immune system. And we make sure that the virus, which is viewed as an inert thing until it hooks into the DNA mechanism of a cell or hooks into a bacteria. The virus can be a bacteriophage and hook into a bacteria and use its host's capacity to replicate. And then the virus will replicate. Now, there is no medication for that. And there is maybe some kind of chemical that will interfere with the host's capacity to get in, or the cell's capacity even to be the host or something of that nature. In the COVID pandemic, something was devised like that, but we know it wasn't fully successful because COVID is still around. So the body is very adaptable. Now, we're speaking as if the body has its own intelligence and is a separate entity. And in a sense it is, but actually it is a divine entity. And God sits in there, unborn, consciousness unflickering, commanding as an emperor, commanding as the one who is in charge. And as long as that entity is there, the 11-gated city functions well. Why wouldn't it? The whole idea of naturopathy is treating things in a natural way and viewing a philosophy that says this body is God's temple, God's housing. Now, the least doubt in that will upset the whole system. And is there any reason why we should doubt it? Yes. And culture, our cultural background enables us to doubt it, because we are brought up with doctors and medicines and hospitals. And that's the thing. Others may be brought up in an environment of Ayurvedic medicine or homeopathic medicine or naturopathy, in which case they will have a different view of things. But what's behind it? What's behind it is faith, a supreme confidence, without a shadow of doubt. Does it mean then that we don't take advantage of God-supplied things necessary when things have gone too far? No, we do. We take advantage of medicine, medical technologies. Absolutely, we do. But we have to try and prevent it as much as possible. And the point is, behind all of that is faith. Lord, this is your body. Every cell, you are within every cell. And every cell is like a reflection, like molecules of water or even drops of water reflect one sun. There are not millions and millions of suns. There are millions and millions of droplets of water that have a sun within them. But one sun is there, looking like all of this. In this way, we have to think of the entire variegation of the universe, coming out as a person, parts of a person, or all the various flora and fauna that we view around. We have to infuse it with the idea, Lord, you're there, Lord, you're there, Lord, you're there, namaste. And a sense of thankfulness, thank you for revealing yourself here in all of this. What a glory, what a glory. Now, what is an internal statement and comes then with an elaborated set of values, which when rehearsed will enter into the habit level and create an atmosphere of spirituality. When cultivated well, systematically, habitually, we will become what we call liberated in this life. That's the aim of
it. So that thought process, it can be mapped across, or it should be mapped across every aspect of life, whether it is having that faith that and understanding the power within, that you, whether it's, our physical wellness, whether it's, our work, our home life, that same situation takes place, that same power is within us, that is divine, that is not ours as we see ourselves, but it can be used for absolutely everything. So I suppose it's how to be. Have you any tips on?
You see, a spider's web.
How you harness that? How you can have that.
Yeah. So a spider's web looks like an inert thing. That's one view of it. Until you poke it, some force has to make it move. In this same way, everything that moves requires a force. Now this force, the force is a language of Newtonian physics, and energy is a relatively modern term. Energy we had thousands of years ago. The ancients called it prana, and matter they call akasha. But they made no distinction because they drew it back to one thing. What is that one thing? One thing is God. Now, philosophically, we can call it cosmic mind. If the cosmic mind is ruling everything everywhere, this one unity everywhere, then whatever we see, whether it's a person or place or event, is all drawn back to that oneness, that one thing. What do we do in meditation? We take all the individual variegated things, scenes and places and so on, we draw it out from that attention which is able to notice past events. We call it memory. We bring that out, make a series of things like that, and allow that to draw us inward to the source. So it becomes simpler and simpler and simpler. The more multitudinous things that we experience, the more complex. When we see their generality and their source, it becomes more simple. And when we draw it back, finally we come to one thing. And that one thing, as we might describe it in human language, that oneness is a pureness of being. When we systematically learn to reside in that core through meditation, not only through meditation, but through walking and working and all our daily activities, seeing that everywhere with the full capacity of our image making, seeing the glory and beauty everywhere, making a kind of, you see, not just a namaste on greeting, but an internal namaste everywhere with everything that we experience. And when we do that, what happens? All these values settle in the unconscious mind until this purity of the mind itself becomes a revealing thing. And that revealing thing gives us, when it's habitual for us, says, you don't have to wait for 1,000 other lives. Get your moksha, your liberation here, get it now. But that now, of course, happens through the cultivation of, firstly, this attitude derived from scripture and teacher and all these various sources, and then the practice of it, the spiritual understanding of it, that engaging it, imbibing it, absorbing it in the very fabric of your human being, so that your personality shines with it and distributes it everywhere and allows you to be free from what? Well, that same passage will tell us, if you understand this whole thing, this 11-gated city, what is the effect on you? If you really know it, by knowing that, one does not grieve. Anushtaya na shochati vimoktascha vimochayate edadvaitat. This is that. That is it. This truly is that. There's no question of competing with it, no question of debating it. It's a fact. By ruling it, one doesn't grieve. By ruling what? The body, mind. By ruling it, you don't grieve. By becoming the ruler of it, not just understanding the unity of its presence, but also understanding how its rulership affects all the various worlds that we have, classified normally into social, domestic, political, etc., financial, and all that. Cosmological, universal. They're a glorious endeavor. We should do it. Well, I hope that pause is a pause for thoughtfulness.
That was great, Swamiji. Thank you.
Okay, all good, all good. All right, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.
Thank you, Swami.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you so much.